My name's Jeff Goble. I'm part of the Bear Archery Pro Staff team. And hunting season is behind me, so I thought I would take a few minutes and do a quick video on what my bow setup was and how I got there. And I had a few things that I learned during that process of tuning this bow that might be of interest to anybody who's setting up a bear bow or any other bow that behaves the same way mine did. So during the season, great time with the bow, shot real well, got it tuned nicely. And my definition of tune, which is what I struggled with for a while before the hunting season, is that I can get bear shafts, fletched broadheads, and fletched field points all to hit at the same impact point. And I struggled with that a little bit, and I learned that fletching can really mask some tuning errors. So I'm going to tell you how I came upon that and what I did to get around that. And for those of you who are interested, my purpose for tuning a bow and shooting a bow is for for bow hunting. It's not for target, it's not for 3D. So my setup is based upon my interest on hunting. So that's what I took as an approach and a reason to get to how I was going to get my bow tuned well. And the criteria, like I said, was field points, broadheads, and bear shafts all hitting the same point of impact out to 35 yards. So the bow is a 50-pound Bear 50th anniversary. It's a B riser with number 3 limbs, and my strings are fast flight strings, 16 strands with some extra strings, 2 of each color padded on the loops, and that helped quiet the bow down a little bit. And I use cat whiskers for string silencers, 2 of those placed, as you can see, and the bow is super quiet with that. And the arrows I'm shooting are Carbon Express 250s. They're 30.5 inches long. No, 30.5 inches my overall arrow length. And I draw just about 29 inches. So I'm shooting a little over 50 pounds. The arrows weigh a total weight of 570 grains. So I try to get 10 to 11 grains per pound of bow weight. So that's right in that range. And I shoot a 50 grain brass insert with 150 grain tip on it, and the broadheads I was shooting were from Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear, the cutthroat broadheads, and I got those flying great, but it wasn't without some effort. So early on, I got the bow tuned to pretty much standard specs. I shoot an 8 1/8 inch brace height, and the knock height is what I struggled with. I ended up with a pretty high knock height, I think 9/16 above center on the arrow, the top of the knock, and it looked high to me, and so I never could really get my mind around that, so I kept lowering it so that it looked right, and I got it to the point where my fletch shafts flew very well. But as soon as I would put a broadhead on, any little error in my release, that broadhead would take off. So I never really could get a super dependable flight with my broadheads, you know, very forgiving. It took a very good release to get good broadhead flight. And then I would shoot a bear shaft, and man, once I got beyond 15 or 20 yards, that shaft would just really, the error in my tuning was exaggerated at those distances beyond. So those fletchings, they really did mask some tuning errors. So that was a good lesson for me. And there weren't a lot of fletches on there. I put 3 4-inch vanes, and I shot trad vanes and feathers. And both of those, like I said, with field points, grouping very well. But as soon as I went to a broadhead, it was real finicky. And then I went to a bear shaft, and I couldn't get them to hit the same point for the life of me. So I kept inching up, not literally, but just incremental, like 1 strand at a time on my string, raising that knock point, until I could get those bear shafts grouping consistently out to 35 yards with my field points and my broadheads. And I really didn't pay attention to what the measurement was. I had to get over that preconception that anything above a 1/2 inch or 5/8 or whatever, you know, and it just didn't look right. When I had that arrow knocked, that knock just seemed super high from my arrow angle. But I shoot split finger, and all my bows, I've shot, you know, several other bear bows and tuned a lot of different bows, and usually I can get that knock height lower than that, and it flies well. This bow didn't behave that way, so not until I got that knock height up did I get very good arrow flight. And I did get very good arrow flight. I could shoot bear shafts, broadheads that were way more forgiving than I had tuned it before. You know, once I got that knock height set appropriately. So lesson learned there, don't enter into your bow tuning with preconceived notion. There are some general parameters, of course, for what your brace height and your nock height might be, but they're just starting points. So I had to, like I said, kind of get over some preconceptions of what I thought a proper nock height looked like. And they don't always look perfectly level when they're nocked on there. You know, this one just looked a lot higher. And I'm shooting right off the shelf with the bear hair rest and a leather side plate. I also had a Thunderhorn quiver on it. I've shot Selway and Thunderhorn, both those great quivers, had great luck with those. So anyway, hopefully this might help you on your next bow tune, or if you're interested in getting a 50th anniversary, you might learn something from the bow might teach you something as well. So don't be so stuck on your preconceptions of what a bow should look like when it's nocked properly, but really let that arrow tune tell you, and don't get fooled by masked errors that fletching can correct. So I don't paper tune, but I do a lot of, I really think that a bear shaft that flies well and consistent with your field points and your broadheads, I think that is fairly demonstrative of a good and well-tuned bow. So there you go. That's what I learned, and thank you for listening. If you liked what you see here, click the like, and I'll try to do some more of these videos. I've got a bear AMAG coming this spring, hopefully. As soon as I can get it, I'll do a setup video of that. So I'm looking forward to that bow, and I'm sure that'll teach me some lessons as well. So thanks, and happy shooting.